If your spouse passes away before you, what's the first thing you should do? Most people don't have a clear answer. When that moment comes, they're often overwhelmed by grief, confusion, and unexpected decisions they must face alone. Before healing, let the pain be present. In today's fast-paced world, we seem to have lost the ability to sit with our true emotions. When a loved one leaves, especially a spouse, the one who shared every small moment of life with you, grief is more than just a feeling. It is an existential state where it feels like a part of your body has been cut away and the world around you turns unfamiliar and distorted. In those moments, our first instinct as humans is to run away from pain. We scroll through social media, keep ourselves busy, find something to do, just to avoid facing the truth. They are no longer here. But if pain is a wound, then hastily wrapping it without cleaning inside will only cause it to fester, prolonging the damage. True healing doesn't begin with action, it begins with presence. That means you must give your pain a space to exist in your inner life. No denial, no rushing to be fine, just simply acknowledging, I am hurting, and allowing yourself to feel it without needing to explain or justify. Someone once said, if you want to get through grief, you have to go through it, not around it. And it's true, when you're brave enough to sit alone, to face the empty room, the routines no longer shared, the untouched teacup, that is not desperate loneliness. That is the first step of courage, of returning to yourself. Imagine a land after a storm. Trees fallen, houses in ruins, but the ground remains. And only when you stop running and honestly face that destruction with clear eyes can you begin to plant seeds of life again. Likewise, only when you stay long enough with your pain and listen to it can you understand what within you is breaking and what remains whole. We often think suffering makes us weaker, but sometimes it is in our weakest moments that we find true strength, the strength of not running away. You don't have to pretend to be fine. You don't have to hide your tears. Cry if you must. Write if you can't speak. Hold yourself as if you are the only friend you have left, because that's exactly what you need right now. And remember, feeling pain doesn't make you weak. It makes you more human. It opens a sacred space for rebirth, where new life can sprout from old ruins. Pain is not the enemy. It is the guide, leading you back to what matters most in life: love, memory, and meaning. Proactively reconnect the bond, even if it's just a hello. When a loved one passes away, especially a longtime spouse, the space around you doesn't just become quiet, it becomes heavy and distant. The once warm home suddenly turns into an echo chamber of absence. And in that very silence, isolation doesn't knock with sound. It seeps in through the stillness. Many people think they need to gather their thoughts, wait for things to settle before talking to someone. But the truth is, the longer you wait, the easier it is to be pulled deeper into the vortex of loneliness. Grief can cause you to retreat, but that's exactly when you most need a hand. And sometimes you have to be the one to reach out first. Taking the initiative to connect doesn't mean you have to share everything or pretend to be strong. Sometimes all it takes is a simple message. Can we talk? Or opening the window to let in the light, stepping outside and saying good morning to a neighbor. Just enough to remind yourself, I still live in a world with people around me. Not everyone knows how to comfort others. Many are afraid of making you hurt more, afraid of saying the wrong thing, so they choose silence. That's why you shouldn't wait for them to come to you. Create the chance for them to know you need them. That's not weakness, it's an act of wisdom and courage. You're choosing connection over closing off. In my personal experience, a friend once told me that after her husband died, she didn't receive any messages during the first 3 days. Not because people forgot, but because everyone thought, let her have some quiet time. It was only when she picked up the phone to call an old friend, not to cry, just to ask, "How have you been?" that the circle of loneliness began to break. A simple check-in led to a coffee meetup, that coffee led to laughter, and that laughter, though mixed with tears, was the first sign of revival. Connection doesn't have to be grand. No need for deep advice or life philosophy. You just need to speak up, even if your voice trembles. Say, I don't know what I'm feeling, but I don't want to be alone. And in that raw honesty, people become closer than ever. Don't let paperwork be a burden in your grief. In the depths of grief, thinking about paperwork, documents, or administrative procedures can seem cruel. How can you search for insurance contracts, reopen savings accounts, or apply for a death certificate when you haven't even accepted that they're gone? But reality is harsh. Life doesn't pause to give you more time to mourn. Behind the tears lie a series of duties you're forced to bear. The will needs to be validated. Bank accounts may be frozen if there's no legal heir. Life insurance, property papers, loans, digital accounts. All these must be handled soon to avoid future complications. And if you delay too long, financial troubles may weigh down on you or others in your family. Organizing paperwork isn't just a responsibility, it's an act of love for the one who passed. You're completing what was left unfinished, protecting their assets and wishes, and also securing your own future. Every document you handle, every signature you make, is a small step out of the darkness, not because you've forgotten the pain, but because you're learning to live with it. Find someone trustworthy to accompany you, a relative, a lawyer, or a friend with experience. Don't try to handle everything on your own. Sometimes, just having someone sit beside you, help sort documents, jot down timelines, remind you of important things, is enough to make you feel you're not alone on this journey. I once witnessed a woman, at her husband's funeral, return to her desk after the guests had left, open each drawer, and organize every paper related to pensions, health insurance, and the house contract. When asked why she didn't rest, she simply said, "If I don't do it now, I might not have the strength a few days later." That sentence helped me realize dealing with paperwork isn't about being cold. It's about staying clear-headed in the storm. What's frightening isn't the paperwork. It's the idea that organizing documents means admitting they're truly gone. Every time you open a drawer, every time you see their signature on a contract, it feels like your heart tears a little more. It's hard to battle emotions while staying sharp through clauses, terms, numbers, and timelines. That's why the first thing to remember is you don't need to finish everything at once. What you need is a plan. Small, clear, step by step. Write out the items to resolve, divide them into categories: legal, financial, property, personal, and every time you complete a small task, give yourself a break, as if you've just climbed over a hill on a mountain trek. Create a safe working space not just physically, but emotionally. It could be the desk corner where you used to sit with them, a quiet morning with a warm cup of tea, or the living room with a close friend nearby. Emotions will pour out, but that's when you truly lay the foundation for healing, because you're no longer avoiding reality. Many people share that after going through the paperwork phase, they felt lighter, not because the pain was gone, but because they no longer carried the invisible fear of unfinished responsibilities. Settling the will, transferring property ownership, closing bank accounts, paying off debts. These not only prevent legal disputes or complications, but are also the final acts of respect you give to the deceased, just as you once loved them in life. Paperwork may be lifeless, but you can turn it into an act of humanity. When you tap the keyboard to fill out a form, when you sign a legal document, you're telling life, I'm still moving forward, not because I forgot, but because I cherish what remains. Take care of your body, not because you're fine, but because you need to survive. Losing a loved one doesn't just tear your soul apart. It quietly takes a toll on your body, too. Emotional pain, when left unattended, quickly leaves marks on your physical health. You may no longer feel hungry, but your empty stomach still twists. You lie awake all night, eyes wide open, and still wake up feeling exhausted, as if you never slept. You forget to take your meds, stop caring about your heart rate, blood pressure, or the pounding headaches. You might think, eating, exercising. How can I do any of that when my heart is shattering? But the painful truth is, if you don't care for your body now, you won't have the strength to continue the journey of healing. Taking care of your body isn't a sign of getting over it. It's an act of survival. It's how your body calls for help in the middle of the emotional desert, a tiny flame keeping you warm through the winter of grief. Sometimes just one decent meal, a warm drink, or a short nap can make a world of difference. Not because it erases the pain, but because it helps you endure the pain without collapsing. Start with small, manageable things. Drink enough water every day, even if you're not thirsty. Eat a hot bowl of porridge, even if it tastes bland. Take a 10-minute walk around the house instead of lying in bed all afternoon. Practice deep breathing. Remind your body, I'm still here. And if you're on medication, whether for blood pressure, diabetes, or depression, don't neglect it. Your body is already weakened by grief, which means it needs you now more than ever, as a friend who's patient, loving, and responsible. I once saw an elderly woman who lost her husband after more than 50 years together. In the early days, she grew thin, refused to eat, and wouldn't get out of bed. But one day, her 10-year-old granddaughter brought her a bowl of vegetable soup, set it on the table, and said, "Grandma, eat it, so I can still have you." From that day, she started eating a little each day, not because she stopped grieving, but because she understood. Those who stay behind also need to live, to preserve that love in a different way. Don't let grief-driven decisions become a second scar. When loss strikes, everything feels like it's falling apart. Familiar corners of your home now only remind you of what's missing. A shirt still hanging on a hook, a pair of slippers by the door, or a coffee cup left unwashed. Every little detail suddenly feels unbearable. And so, you want to leave. You want to sell the house. You want to move. You want to erase anything that might make your heart ache again. But please pause. Not because you don't have the right to change things, but because right now your mind is flooded in a storm of emotions. Decisions made in this state rarely reflect your true needs. They come from the urge to escape the pain as fast as possible. And that can easily lead to another kind of loss: regret. Many people, after selling their homes, moving away, or burning every keepsake, later admit, "I didn't really want to do that. I just wanted the pain to stop." But the pain isn't in the house or the objects. It's inside your heart, and it needs healing from within, not by wiping out everything outside in hopes of forgetting. Taking a pause doesn't mean being stuck. It means giving yourself space to breathe, a safe zone where your emotions can settle before deciding what truly matters for your new life. Maybe in a few months, you'll still want to move. But by then, it'll be a conscious decision, not an act of desperation. If you want to go through belongings, do it slowly. Fold the clothes, touch each item. Allow yourself to cry. You might keep a shirt, a book, a letter, as a cherished memory, not something to throw away like it never existed. I once saw a man who, after losing his wife, immediately sold the house they had lived in for 30 years, moved to another city, and cut ties with old neighbors. But less than a year later, he returned to that street just to stand outside the house and cry. Not because he wanted to relive the past, but because he realized you can't run away from pain. You can only learn to live with it. If possible, write down your thoughts before making any major decisions. Read them again tomorrow, then next week, then a month later. And if you still want to go through with it once your heart has calmed, at least you'll know you didn't act out of panic, but because you were ready to step into the next chapter. Quietly rebuild yourself from the collapse of a we. When your spouse passes away, what you lose isn't just a person. It's half of the habits that once bonded you two. The laughter mixed with little arguments. The plans that never had time to come true. It's the name you used to say before sleeping. The hand you instinctively held when crossing the street. The shadow always cast on the wall when the lights came on. Now there's only you left. You didn't just lose them, you also lost a part of yourself, the part that existed within that relationship. The word we has now become I. And that isn't just a change in language. It's a quiet but profound identity crisis. How do you begin again when the things that once defined you are gone? How do you continue living when everything you once were, a spouse, a soulmate, a companion, now belongs to the past? The answer is not to instantly seek a new version of yourself. It's to accept the journey of rediscovering who you are, slowly, quietly, and lovingly. You don't have to become someone else. You just need to learn how to live as just you. Not incomplete, not burdened, simply you, whole and enough, even when no one is beside you. And remember, your change, growth, and different way of living, it's not a betrayal of the one who passed. On the contrary, it's a way to honor them by showing that the love they left behind still nurtures a person who knows how to live, how to love, and how to grow. I once heard a widow say, "I am no longer his wife, but I am still the woman he once loved, and I will go on living in a way worthy of that love." That sentence made me believe rebirth is not forgetting. It's moving forward with the memories, like a seed planted by the one who left. but blooming within you. Losing your life partner is one of the deepest wounds life can offer, but you are not alone. The small actions, feeling, connecting, organizing, caring for yourself, pausing, and rebuilding, will help you continue writing the story of your life.